Hello, beautiful one. Welcome. Before we get into this week's video, I wanted to thank this week's video sponsor, which is none other than my online shop. If you love my Backwards Beauty series, you'll be excited to know that my prints are now available in my brand new online shop. I worked really hard to photograph and color correct each piece so the prints are just as vibrant as the originals. These prints are museum quality and made of thick matte paper. They are made especially for you as soon as you place your order, which is why it takes a bit longer to deliver to you. Making products on demand instead of in bulk helps reduce overproduction, and you can feel good about your thoughtful purchase. And for those of you wondering about my original paintings, yes, they are coming soon. I'm still working out the shipping logistics, but if you sign up for my email list, you will be the first to know when they launch. Plus, as a thank you for subscribing, I will send you my free studio supply list for 2025. This list will have my favorite paints, brushes, studio lights, printer, cameras, and so much more. Now let's get back to this week's video.
Welcome to the studio this week. You might be able to tell by my voice that something's going on. I'm a little under the weather, but I wanted to put out this video this week, so I just wanted to tell you a little bit about what's going on in my brain this week in the studio. I turned my process upside down. I'm always looking for ideas and ways to get better and to refine my process. And so I thought turning my whole process upside down would be a good idea. And it was. I have some thoughts on it I'll get to in a minute. But let me tell you about how I turned it upside down. So I usually start with the first layer of acrylic, and then I move on to a water-soluble oil layer for the second layer. And this week I decided to start out with the oils and just jump right in. And then the second thing I did different was I started with the background. I usually start with the figure and then move out to the background. I'm not sure why I did this. It didn't make a whole lot of difference, but I will say that when you're working on the figure and your paint is wet on wet, it's easier to have the background not wet so that you can lay your hand on it. But if you use a mahl stick or something like that, you can get around this. So I think starting with the background wasn't a terrible idea, but it wasn't my favorite. Let's just put it that way. However, starting out with the oils, I really did enjoy. This was almost 3 hours painting session, and I think it did reduce my time quite a bit. I do have to go back in with another layer, so she's not quite done, but I will give a reveal at the end of what she looks like. What I did notice about going in tone on tone, because I'm not used to doing it, I used to paint in plein air all the time, which is out in the field. You paint in the park, whatever you want to call it, and loved it. But there's a certain psychology and a certain rhythm you get in when you paint like that, and so I wasn't used to painting like that. So I noticed myself, especially on the skin tones, they got muddy really fast. And one thing that I didn't do is just scrape it all back. I should have just scraped it all back and started from the beginning, and I just kept putting layers on top of layers. And you could tell my colors were muddy and gritty, and I wasn't a big fan, but she came out okay. She looks all right. The hair was the same way. I wanted to add some blue tones in her hair to kind of incorporate her into the background. So her highlights were kind of, especially for a dark brunette, I thought the blue highlights would be a really cool shadow. I do a second round on the hair, so she comes out a little bit better. I think it needs a little more nuance. One of the things I'm trying to accomplish in these portraits is soft edges. And so you can see where the peonies hit the background. Some of the edges are sharp and some of them aren't. And that's a goal in my head every time I come to the palette and to the canvas, is trying to keep the edges fresh and soft. And I think by starting out with the oil paints, it will get me to that faster. I found myself when I start out with the oils and acrylics that I'm taking a lot of time to mix colors in the acrylics that aren't very good colors. And so that was taking a lot of time. And whereas with my oil soluble colors, I can mix those so much easier and get the results that I'm looking for because I'm used to them. And I'm not trying to make do with some cheap acrylic paint. Here I'm blending. You can see I'm just taking a big brush, and the brush doesn't have any paint on it, and I'm just blending those edges so that they blur a little bit. And some places I did go a little too far, but I'll go back in and tighten them up with some color. You can see right here I'm trying to add shadows, but they're just getting kind of muddied and dark. So I think that, there comes a time with your wet on wet painting that you just need to know when enough is enough. And you need to step back and let it dry a little bit and come back in for another layer. And I think that's where I went wrong most, is that I just didn't stop soon enough. I should have stopped and let the painting just dry, which is what's happening now. So overall, I think I learned a lot from it. And I think going forward, I'm going to be starting out with the oil soluble paints. The water soluble paints. I've been calling them wrong. Sorry, guys. It's water soluble paints I use. So that just means that they are able to be, I can clean up my brushes and my palette and everything with just water and soap. I'm very highly sensitive to chemicals, and so it's been a godsend to have these instead of regular oil paints, as much as I love regular oil paints. But these work, I find, just as well. So if you're looking for a solution yourself, I highly recommend them. So that's all I have this week, and right now I'm going back in and I'm working on the background a little bit more so that I deepen some of the blues, and it's supposed to be kind of like a sky background. So anyways, thanks for being here, and I've got a few beauty shots for you. The frame on this one is a white one with a gold trim, and you'll have to let me know if you like the white, or do you think I should give it a makeover and make it into a gold frame? I'd really love your feedback on that. Thanks so much. See you next week.